Yeah, please go ahead.
So, am I audible enough?
Yes.
So, sir, today we are going to discuss about barcodes. So, these are very well known to you, right? Can you list few of them, like in everyday life? Where do you see the barcodes? Like where you have recently seen a barcode? Can you name few places? Anyone? Like just to get a feel of the what we are discussing. Can you just name the few places where you have seen barcode recently?
Products and food packets.
Right. Yeah. So this was one picture to just give a hint to you that yeah, we already have visited supermarkets, malls, and all. So we use the barcodes to scan those and at the checkout, and we get out easily, right? Without stopping for a queue at a long time. So yes, these barcodes are available on each and every product. So they are available for identifying the product uniquely, right? So uniquely identifying makes them easy to be stacked and easy to be keep track of, right? Even for the stores, the managers of the stores, the people working at the stores, right? So I will just like to give you a short history about the it's very interesting history about how this barcode even generated. So the history actually started 70 80 years 70 75 years ago. It was started in something city called Philadelphia in US. So it's a city where there is a university, Drexel University. It's a management institute where mechanical engineer students were studying. One of them named Bernard Silver. Okay, he had just heard and overheard an interesting conversation between uh, president of a food chain and the deans with the institute, the deans of the institute. They were talking about researching about a system to automatically read a product during the customer's checkout. So even that time they had the supermarkets. So they were trying to get out of this problem of standing in the queue for a long time. So then this Braden Silver discussed this problem with his friend Norman Joseph Woodland. So they both were trying to come up with this problem. They were trying for many years. So they first of all they worked together and they founded one system which was working upon the ultraviolet ink. So you might have noticed the pen which writes and it will be invisible ink by our naked eyes, but we can see the whatever the content is written by using the ultraviolet light, which is again provided with the pen. So you can see what is written with there, right? So that what was ultraviolet ink. But the problem was that it was easily fading and it was quite expensive as well. So that thing also didn't work. So after quite a few time, they were in 1949 they visited a beach. So Miami Beach in Florida, it is again a country in US. So they both were sitting at the beach and they were thinking about this problem. They were thinking about the solution for this problem. But yeah, they just this the thing which I discussed earlier, the ultraviolet ink thing. They were using dots and dashes there, okay, for identifying a product. So what he did, the Norman did, he poked his hands in the sand and he pulled the hands down. And what he observed that now I have these four lines, and they could be even wide or narrow lines, right? So he poked the hands and he drew some lines, right? So he thought, right, it's really interesting. Then they came up with an really working principle in 1952, and even they got signed that patent in October 7th on this year. And uh, that was patented by Philico in US. It's a company, it's an electronic company which produces battery radios and televisions. So they got patent even for this product. And yeah, after in 1957, so what happened was this first time it was read. So the first scanner which could read this barcode was invented even after the patent was expired. Okay, the patent was being accepted, but it was not working right. So the scanner was developed even after the patent was expired. But in this year, July 26th, the first package of a juicy fruit gum was scanned by this scan, which was using a barcode, and it was done at a Marsh supermarket uh, in US again. So this was the quite the interesting story about how does these barcodes were even generated and why did the people thought about it, right? So isn't that interesting, right? So right. So next is actually introducing the barcode. So after having this history on mind, we're really very excited to know about actually how did they do that, right? How did they come up with those only the four lines and this to a very structured barcode? So what was the thing was, what is a barcode? It's generally a technology which accelerated the flow of the products and information with the business and businesses. So different businesses were carried out through these barcodes very efficiently. So this was a very critical element in the market even today, right? Even today, global economics and national economics are all handled by using this barcode. It's quick at these times. So symbologies of these barcodes, they can even be represented in different data types. They can only be numbers. They can be numbers, punctuation marks with some letters as well. Uh, and they even can be 128 character or 256 character. By 128, the 16 digit and 8 digit numbers, right? They can be the barcodes, different sizes and different symbologies can be used to represent this barcode. So that was about the what is a barcode. Then the next is the about discussing about one dimensional barcode. So in the case of one dimensional barcodes, okay, in the case of one dimensional barcodes, the one-dimensional barcodes are those which only involves the vertical lines, the black lines and the white lines of a different width. The these barcodes have the density, like the particular area where we can read the barcodes, and they have the particular required place where they can be read, and these are called as the characters, and they are given in terms of centimeters. So this is what is a barcode density. Then the barcode module, so barcode module is the nothing but a particular width of a smallest bar. So we have that black and white bars, right? So that bar is the width of the smallest bar is what is a module width. Then the quiet zone, so quiet zone is a zone where there is no character involved, so nothing, the number nor the vertical lines, no any marks, no any punctuation marks are there. So that region from the barcode is again a quiet zone. Yeah, it's again a region of a barcode. Next is a check digit. So as we discussed earlier, right, the check digit is used to verify the whole of the barcode, verify the number is correct or not, right? Then these are the some symbologies. They are comparing with EAN13 barcode and 120 code 128 barcode. So this involves 12-digit number and this involves 20 digit. It's not necessarily a number. It can be a other character as well. So yes, this EAN13 will only be a number, whereas this code 128 will be an alphanumeric number. It can be a number and a digit with some special character and an at the rate as well, right? And the module width, as I discussed, it will be a bar length, the smallest bar length. It can be 33 mm, or and in this case it will be 9 mm. So what is this X is? This X represents the space. So here there we should not give any space while writing this module, but here we can give a space of some greater width, some greater than 0 width. Fine. So this was about the what uh, general introduction to a barcode. But now, how does the barcode looks? What are the components of a barcode? So you can see this barcode. So these are nothing but some black white lines arranged in vertical order, parallel lines arranged, and some numbers associated with them, right? So the number which is at the very starting is called as a country code, is known as a country code. There is a number at the end is check digit, right? And you can see this vertical lines, black and white lines, but the you can notice few of them are of a longer width. So this longer width lines, to the leftmost is a left guard bar, to the rightmost is a right guard bar, and to the center is a center guard bar. And this number is representing the universal product code. There is a number, the left universal product code, the number which is to the left of the center guard bar, like this number 391668 is a manufacturer number, whereas the number to the right of the guard bar is an item number, so 202121. So this is an item number. So that what is the general structure of a barcode. Generally there are different, some barcodes do not include country code, some barcodes not include check digits, some barcodes do not include this universal product code. They do not include means they do not represent it actually in the barcode, but this line do represent, right? But you might be interesting, you might be wondering like how this 3 came for uh, this dark black line, and how this 9 came for this uh, very thin black line. Right, so let us try to investigate. Given a number, what we do. So given this barcode, we need to convert this barcode, this UPC code of this barcode to a binary code. So why do we need to do that? Because we can't read it, right? Even we have to do it manually. We might have not used the computers, right? We just have done it manually. But no, we need to use it through computers. So we need to give the information to the computer in the terms, in the language which he understands. So the computer understands binary code. So we need to convert this UPC code to a binary code first of all, right? So how do we do that? So this is a number. This is the number. I have noted it in the different colors. Is that just to make sure this number is to the left of the central guard bar and this number is to the right of the central guard bar. Again, one thing to be noticed is yes, we can always divide this number into equal parts. Not like we have 11 numbers and we will not be able to divide it, right? It will not be the case because this UPC will always be an even number. It will be a 2 digit, it will be a 4 digit number, it will be a 6 digit number, it will be 8 digit number, it will be 12 digit number, or 16, or even further, but not like odd digit number. Okay, so we can always make this differentiation, like it will be a, this part is a left part and this part is a right part. The next thing is, what do you think that what will be the binary code obtained here? What will be the length of this binary code obtained? Let us not worry about both of them. Let us try to think about only for the first, the left hand side part. What do you think the number can be? Since this is a, let us try to investigate what is a binary code for each of these digits, right? So this is the number which is associated with this 391668. So 3 represents this number. So this says 3 is the binary equivalent to 0111101. 9 is binary equivalent to 0001011. 1 is equivalent to 0 double one double one zero one, and so on. So you might be wondering, we need to remember these things? No, we don't have to. Okay, but I will give you the illustration about that. But uh, taking this, so each of this number is essentially a 7-digit binary code, right? So this left hand side and this right hand side, both of them have each equivalent binary code to be a 7-digit number. So this 7 into 7, this 7, there's 12 numbers there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 numbers, 12 into 6 is 40, 12 into 6 to the one side, and 7 into 6 to one side and 7 into 6 to the another side, they make up to be 84. So a 12 digit UPC code can be represented by a 82 length binary code. Okay, so please keep these things in your mind because you will be needing this for the further analysis. So just not worry about how this numbers came, these 7-digit numbers. You don't have to remember. Just don't worry. I will tell you how to do that. So okay, you understood that the 12-digit number, 12-digit binary. UPC code can be represented in 84 length binary code. But next is, how do we read it, right? We can't read it. How do we number this? So this 3 is representing 0 1 1 1 1 0 1. 9 is representing this, 1 is representing this, 6 is representing this, another 6 is representing the same number, 8 is representing this number, and on the right hand side 2 is representing this, 0 is this, 2 is this, another one is the same, 2 is the same again, and 1 is the same again. But did you notice something like, I will ask you like, 1 minute. Do you notice anything similarity or any difference that you can make up from this? Like this number 1 here, okay? So this number 1 and the number. So notice that this both ones are one only, but they are represented by different binary numbers. So this number says the one is the binary equivalent of 00 11 1 0 1, but this says it's a binary equivalent of 11 00 1 1 0. Right, so they are not the same. So you might be even tensed. Like we need to remember the numbers on the right differently and the right, on the left differently. No, you don't have to do that. But keep this thing in mind that the number has to be different for the left hand side, the binary code for the left hand side and to the right hand side. But how we do that is the following. We use this pattern. So this is the pattern which tells you about how do you read the number. So this is a left hand side pattern. So these are the binary equivalents. This is how you can read the binary equivalent. I will tell you how to read it. So this is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. These are the single digits numbers, and each of them is representing with a 7-digit number. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7. But how do you read it, right? So these are nothing but alternate white and black boxes. So you will read the white box or the light colored box as 0 and the dark colored box as 1. So can you, I will tell you how to read 0. So 0 is read as 000 11 01. Okay, then the 1. So now remember, I am reading the left hand side, I am reading the left hand of the UPC code. So this 1 can be represented as 00 11 001. Okay, let us verify it. So I said for 1 it was 00 11 001, right? So let's see this. Yeah, so this says 00 11 001, right? So this was to the left hand side and it read as 00 11 001. But the number to the right, so this is the 1 and its a binary equivalent to the right is 11 00 110. Okay, once again 11 00 110. And yes, so this is 11 00 110. So this pattern will help you. You don't have to remember. This pattern will tell you what is the binary equivalent of the whole UPC code. You just need to divide the UPC code in half and you need to do that. So I will just give you one example. So yeah, I have just written the theory what we need. So the number on the right. So this is the number which I have taken on the left hand side of the which was on the left hand side of the barcode.
Pranita?
Yes.
Yeah, let them give some chance. Can you go back to the previous zeros and ones? Yeah, no, here only. You table, yes. Let them explore and dream something, whatever they get it.
Yeah.
At least some certain things they can observe from here, right?
Yeah.
So the
So
left
if
hand
you,
side
Yeah.
of a number is
uh,
opposite of the right hand side.
Yeah.
what is that you mean?
I mean, wherever you have zeros in the left for
Hmm.
one, you will have ones.
So
For
if you add these two, what happens bitwise?
it will all be one.
All ones. Is
Right.
it true for every symbol?
Right, sir. It's
Yes.
true.
Okay. Okay. But now the question boils down to we need to sufficient to find in one side, right? Because of that.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Like okay, yeah. Yeah, now we can go ahead at least.
So yeah, I will be discussing about the left hand side code. So I have just hided the right hand side code so that you won't get confused. So this 3. So 3 is represented as 0, 111101, right? So 0, 111101. 9 is represented as double zero zero 1011, right? So it's easy. So this is what is for the left hand side. Even to the right hand side we will do the same thing. Okay, so this was a code on the right hand side, 202121, and it is equivalent to this. So here remember that 1 is represented as similar for both the sides, right? So 1 and 2 are the same here because they are both are taking the values from the right hand side of this particular pattern. Fine. Okay, so you understood how this binary number, right? So let us try with one example. I will give you one small 8-digit barcode and a pattern. You need to tell me about what is the UPC code for this pattern, for this barcode. Okay, fine. So yeah, so this is a number. It says it's an 8-digit barcode. What you will first do is you will first divide this whole 8-digit number into a half. So what will be half? What? How many numbers will be to the left of this barcode? To the left of the center bar? How many numbers will be to
4.
the left of the center bar? Yeah, 4.
4.
Namely,
2112.
right, 2112. So can you guess now which pattern will be using, to the left or to the right, to convert these
Left.
to UPC? Yeah, the left one. So can you just illustrate the first? How will be 2 represented?
00100111.
Right. So 2 will be represented 0010011. The next number is 1. How will be 1 represented?
Yeah. So Dhruv told that 00110001.
0011001. Right. Now can you guess what will be the next two, like 1 and 2? So there will be nothing but same patterns, right? How we wrote these two. So there will be 0011011 and 0010011. So can someone tell to the right? So the right digit number, how many numbers again? To the right hand side of the center barcode, how
Again
many?
4. That is
Again 4.
3450. Yeah.
Right. Again, can someone tell me
Yeah. For
other
3
than?
it is 1. 5 4 1 2 3 4 4 zeros followed by 1 0 for
Right, sir.
3. Okay.
Right. Can anyone? Is anyone interested to try
No, no,
for
it's
4?
okay. Actually, these are understood. Actually, very much
Right,
clear.
sir.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. So this is the binary. This is the UPC equivalent for this. So 8-digit code gives us the equivalent of binary this. So this is what is 828 into 28. So there will be 56, right? So 56 length UPC code. So interesting, right? We were able to do that in by just looking at the pattern. Now, what is use of this? Like, so this was the number to the left, right? 391668, and the binary equivalent was 011011101001011, and so on. So what you do is you first, since this the left side of the barcode, you first drew two vertical uh, parallel lines, and they are of the black color, but it will be two blacks and one white in between. So this will be a the left guard bar for this bar, for this barcode. Then 0. So you remember what we discussed for 0? So 0 was the white box, right? So here what we do is we will take this 0 and drew a vertical white line. Do you understand? You represent the 0 with a vertical white line. Then next is the 1. You represent this 1 with a vertical black line. The next one with a vertical black line. The next one with a vertical black line. Okay, I made a mistake here. Okay. The next 0 with a vertical white line. The next one with a vertical white line, and so on. I have just made this gaps here, but we should not make these gaps. We will make it continuous, and that will give you the first code of this barcode. So till 8 it will be this, and after 8 what you do is you again draw two parallel lines which will be of length equal to this left guard bar, and again you do the same for the right hand side thing. Okay, so that what is the how we represent the barcode by using a UPC code. So that how the computer reads it. Okay, interesting, right? Next is, yeah, so I have just summarized the things here. So this was the number to the left. So this is the binary equivalent for that, and this is the barcode to the left. I have written two vertical lines first, then the left and right, then the black and white lines, and I have not drew any vertical lines of different width. I have just placed the lines as they have been appearing in this number. So uh, this is a 42 digit binary code. So this will be representing this number. This is the right hand side number. This will be representing this number. We will join this both with the center guard bar, and this will be our final barcode. Okay, so yeah, so this is very interesting, and this is how the computer reads the barcode by looking at the number. Right? So how do we use it? So how do we read? So the barcode is first read by a red laser write, LED write. So it's an light emitting diode which emits the light on this barcode. So what happens after it? Um, After this LED light is been focused on this barcode, is that the light gets reflected back of the barcode, but the dark areas do not reflect, but the light areas do. So only the dark areas which do not reflect, the computer will take it as 1. Okay, and the light areas, that is a white lines, the vertical white line, it will reflect the right, it will take it as 0. So that's how it can understood the thing. So it will understood that there are 3 black lines and 2 white lines, so it will read it as 00011. So understood. So it will read the thing even if we don't give the numbers at the bottom, it will read the lines. So this reflected lights are photoelectric cells, and through this reflected light, the pattern is generated, which is converted into digital data, and it allows the computer to understand the barcode. For example, if we have this 3, okay, so 3 on the left generates the 3 number on the left, like we had the 3916668. So this 3 was generating light, dark, 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 light, dark. So the lines were like this. So it will, what it will do, it will read it as 0 1 1 1 1 1 0 1, right? So the light line is read as 0 and the dark one is read as 1. So that is how it reads. And the particular barcode is not scanned correctly, the barcode number is to be typed manually using keyboards. So you might have noticed this, right? At the supermarkets, sometimes the barcode is not reading quite few times. They try it quite few times and then they enter it manually. They just enter this barcode 311698 on the computer, and the computer will understood that this is the product. So now what happens after reading the barcode? Now we understood how it is generated, how it is read. Now what happens after reading? So after reading, the barcode number is kept in the stock database. First of all, the number was first of all fed when the product has arrived at the shop, at the supermarket from manufacturers. The number has been fed in the database first of all, and the names are the key fields. The stock item records are kept in a key field, right? These are the terminologies which they use. Then when the barcode number is found in the database, the stock item record is looked up. So you took one product, you scanned the product, so this barcode number is found out. So what they do, they will check this number in the stock items. So before they have already stored it, right? So they will check it, and they will say that this product is been ordered, this product is checked at this counter, so it will go to that counter. That counter is called as the point of sale terminal. So the terminal where the product is out of the stock, right? It will not out of the stock, we should say the product is removed from this stock. Right? Then yeah, so this is how the structure in their computers look. So there will be a serial number, there will be UPC number, there will be a product name, there will be price of the product. They will keep the note of quantity left as well. Okay. So now there are three products. I will just make to make sure not to make it very complicated. I will keep the three products. So this is Colgate, a soap, and a spaghetti. So the person has ordered. Now this is the stock price. Okay, this is not the customer's price. So this is the stock data. So once the customer came and he ordered this spaghetti. So note that the quantity left here are 11. So now what it happens is after reading the barcode, okay, after reading the barcode, this new value number of a stocks is written back to the stock item. It is read, it is written back to the stock record. It says the number of stock record is compared with the reordered level. If it is less than the number which is available in the stock, so they have first of all set an uh, a flag, or they said that if my spaghetti amount, the spaghetti stock left in the supermarket is less than 10, what you do is you automatically send a mail to the manufacturer to send next package. Like there will be 200 or 500 packages, so they will send the package to the company. They've sent an email, so this automatically keeps a flag over here after ordering the product. So what this flag will tell you, you will look at this flag and say, okay, so our company, our supermarket has already ordered for this product, so we no need to draw the order again and again. So the here now the spaghetti is less than 10, so we will order the product again. The spaghetti, one more spaghetti got out of the stock, it will be 9, so again he will not order the product because this flag has been set up, and it will say that no, now we should not order, we have already ordered the product. So that is how they keep the record, right? It is very easy for them to keep this record, and it's very easy to be kept manual. So there is no any magic behind it, like how they manage these stocks and all. So it's very easy for them to be handling this. Yeah, this was what I prepared, and I have one more. Okay, any doubts from this? Like anything which you want to ask from this presentation? Because now I will be showing one MATLAB code, which will tell you exactly how it reads. So even in the mobile phones, like in our mobile phones, we have an app. So from that app, we can scan any barcode or any QR code, and we will be getting information about the product. So how that mobile phone, how that scanners do work, I will show you by using MATLAB code. But before that, do you want me to discuss any concept from these slides? Please let me know.
Yes, any questions? I have one question that left hand side, you told that one side it is okay, know the number. But other side, how do you get it? It is already predefined things.
Yes, sir. The pattern is already predefined for
Predefined.
a 12-digit barcode. It's a
Okay.
pattern.
Okay.
So let me unshare the screen and I will share the
Yeah.
MATLAB screen.
Right.
So it will take a quite while because I'm using an online MATLAB. So
Yeah.
it will
So
time to read.
in the meantime, anybody has any doubts still?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Really very interesting to understand about this barcode
One thing
because
is that the beauty that how much stock is still left, and
right,
ordering also, that when it is less than 10 ordering.
right.
So those are very friendly, right?
Hmm.
Even if you, some of you go for now later for business,
Hmm.
so this may be helpful to you people also. And even further, I think now in the YouTube also there is no better video than this. It seems now if you upload this, this is going to be the best video in this barcode. It seems. Okay. Anyhow, that's good. So any comments? Okay. If not,
Yes, please. Like,
You carry on.
You said sometimes it doesn't get scanned. So why does that happen?
Actually scanning and not scanning, of course I'm also not expert, but what my observation is that those lines the light has to go na. So maybe depending upon that instrument, all the symbols are not going properly, or maybe, right?
It's a physical thing, right? It would be a sticker or something. So maybe manually while working with that, it might have been folded, or like it was not been sticked properly. Like even when we stick a sticker, like sometimes it got by mistakenly sticked wrongly. So not in the proper box, or it might have some fold in between. So that might also reflect well written.
Okay, yeah.
That's why sometimes they will again put in proper order and they will scan again, right?
Right, sir. I will
And
share the link for
yeah,
the barcode,
yeah.
for the MATLAB.
But there are things we need to discuss, is that what happens if there is a some certain bars are gone, so is error correcting is possible. So those things we need to discuss. And now in the place of barcodes, it is, you told it is one dimensional,
Right,
right?
sir.
What do you mean by two dimensional then?
Two-dimensional barcodes are nothing but the QR codes.
QR codes, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. So
So
there are QR codes. Siddhi has to tell anyhow.
yeah, so I didn't touch upon that topic.
Yeah. So now the you know that now two-dimensional. What is the difference between these two? Right. That we need to you start thinking. So if Siddhi tells, it's okay. Otherwise, you will learn on your own. Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Go
sir.
ahead. Yeah.
So, sir, this is a code which is written in a MATLAB file. So, this is a script file of the MATLAB. So, the script file will read the document. This will read the uploaded images from this folder itself. So, I have uploaded few images in this folder. I will read those folders, and they are nothing but different images of a barcode. So you will also understand why the barcode is also not reading. There are few images which will tell you that. So this is a code which I have written. I will read the first barcode here. So to read the first barcode, I will click on this run button. Let me do that. Yes. So this code is running for this barcode 2. And the command window is here. So see, I have taken a picture of this barcode, and it has read this barcode as 71875602052047. So this is a digit. This is a 46. I think it's 16 digit number, and it is been read as this. So I can show you the maximized image. Just a second. Maybe zoom in. I took it by my mobile phone with not
That's
a very
okay.
good camera,
Yeah, that's okay.
because I just wanted to know that uh, how much broadly it can identify. So I have what intentionally took the picture quite broader. Like I have not only took the picture of the actual barcode, I have took the picture outside the barcode as well. On the product it was sticked, so that what it says, right, it can read. So even we can't read it by our naked eyes, we need to take a closer look to that numbers. But
Right.
these lines, they easily reflect what is a number, right? Black and white lines. So yeah, it's very interesting, but it was a good picture first of all. So it wrote, it was able to read. Now I will keep the different image here. I have been keeping this one image. So this is already in this folder, so it is able to run the code and to show you what is happening. So this is another picture. Yeah, the picture will come. So this is one picture. I've taken a picture of a book, have taken, again, I've intentionally took the picture of the whole page, not exactly the barcode, but even then, this barcode is read as 978812031628 So even at the broad perspective, it is already reading the barcode. Right. So these were the some images which can be read, but I have one more image for which it will not read. I will show you.
But this reading power is because of the MATLAB, right?
Yes, this reading power is because of
Because
the MATLAB.
the scanners in the shops have to go close.
Right, right. Yeah, you can observe that, right? In the mobile phone also, you can take the picture from quite big distance. Also, it will read the barcode. You might have noticed it.
But anyhow, the QR codes anyhow we are doing using mobile only, na?
Right, sir. Using
Yes,
mobile.
oh.
So this is another image. So see, it's saying that barcode is not detected. So image is like this. So I've just taken a blur image. So it is not able to completely read this barcode as it's at the complete. It's not able to read. It is not able to read what is the difference between this, whether it's a white line in between or it's just a blur image of a black line. So it is not able to read this kind of barcode. Even I have one more barcode which is not been able. Even the same product which I showed the first time, the 16 digit code, that image itself I have taken very closer look. You can see it's again saying the barcode is not detected. See how the barcode was. Yes, so this is the picture. Again you can see that it's not read, right? So you can understand like now how when the barcode is not read, when the barcode is read. So it just says you should be able to see the difference between the white and the black lines clearly, and yes, the diode will do the thing. The diode will do the thing. It will read the black line as one.
Dhruva charted that due to because of the angle he told.
Yeah, the angle he told. Yes, right. The angle will definitely matter because that what will be reflected while seeing the white light. So the white light will be seen white light when will the angle will be the same, because in the different angle we can see the blurry image of a white as well as a dark line as
Yeah.
well. So yes, so this is the capacity of a MATLAB also. It reads the code so efficiently. Actually, this is the code which was available on the document available at the MATLAB website itself.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So that's what I wanted to share with you.
Right. Very good.
Anyone please have any comments or anything, please?
So I will ask Dhruv or somebody that is it possible to do in this? The MATLAB wala is available in the Sage also.
Okay. To check, sir.
Mhm.
It's very easy code. I think it will be available.
It will be available. Otherwise, you can
Right.
write also maybe. Yeah.
Right. It's very easy for to be written.
Okay then. Yeah.
Can I stop share?
Pranita,
Yes, please.
Yes. Any questions?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I a little bit joined in late, so I may not have heard. But like I means like where does the thing of error correcting come in, and like what is means like uh, this concept of barcode? How is it related to means like coding theory like this?
Okay, so what we do here is we read the barcode and we take the UPC number from the barcode, and we make it as a binary equivalent for that barcode. So given a 12-digit UPC code, so the number which you see on this barcode, right? The number, I will show you once again. So this number which you see on the barcode, after reading the barcode, that number is UPC code. I'm just repeating because you might have not heard the name. So this is the number which you see after reading this barcode. It will say this is a UPC number for this code. So you will generate a binary equivalent for this code, and that binary equivalent of this code will tell you uh, the pattern which it follows, right? The computer how it will read. Yes,
Yes.
but I have not discussed about error correcting anything like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
one thing you told that related to the checksum, check digit.
Yes, check digit also.
Yeah, so and you also told EN13 and some 128 scheme.
Code 128 scheme, right?
So they are used actually. And the other aspect is that, okay, when there is an error, how to detect it? So is it possible to again get the information? That analysis is not done.
Yes.
Yeah, but so to make, so there are certain problems here. So that's why now QR code came. Even some part of it is corrupted, even then you can get the information, right? That is more better. Now QR codes are more better. So information is repeated, like repetition code, information is repeated in the various places in the QR codes.
Right, sir.
That
Authentication can be done by QR code. Yes.
yeah. So there are advantages are there. So actually, I want to make that course also certain other examples to bring in so that day-to-day life utilizations are there. Even cryptography we have. So for example, day-to-day life where hash function is used, right? And the passwords, for example, in the computers we enter it. So it is stored as a hash, right? So if you people you come up, then you people discuss, it will be better, right? So this is one such example. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Uh,
Any more queries?
What was
So
the thing about check digit?
it was a number which was to the after the right guard bar, and it says about that's again modulo 13, right? We do in the case of EN 13. Do you remember that the Shruti and Sachin were explaining, right? We were checking the digit, check digit, and all. We are authenticating this EN 13.
Oh yeah.
Similar way we can, since there are different barcodes for different ones, there are different strategy to be looked at the check digit.
And also, can you think of this information also we are now storing in terms of a, is it not hash? Some sort of hash also, right? Hash function means what? What is actually hash function? So hash function is it take any arbitrary message and it will convert it into a fixed length, right?
Right.
So all the so is it in a particular shop all the barcodes are of the same size?
No, need not be.
So then shop will have different barcodes. I mean, so different items have different barcodes.
Different items are different barcode, but the stock item they already have kept the
Barcodes means,
record.
of course, anyhow they are different. Meaning is that length actually.
Yeah, I understood the thing. E13, E18, it depends upon the manufacturer, right? They might,
Manufacturing. Yeah, correct,
right.
correct. Yeah.
So it might
So
be different for.
how many different may be there?
So there are many difference. I have read of few. So they are EN13, then code 128, then somewhere of only the alphanumeric digits. Somewhere where
Mera
enough of
matlab is that
how many.
that instrument. So instrument just simply read black and white,
Right.
and it will give the answer. But whereas in your computer, you are opening the shop, you are the owner. Then how many different types of things we need to? I think it is also we have to purchase that already available, right? That software just to install in your system.
Yeah. Might
But
be.
but that is okay. But it is better to look into that system, that how many different types of generally see in the world there are so many varieties maybe there. Books, for example, books is there, book scale is different, and but see when you go to general store they may not sell books, right? When they are not selling books, then they need not they do not need that type of barcodes.
Right, sir.
So like that, what my point is that we need to better to know that particular grocery store, what are how many different types of barcodes they will use, right? Yeah. But so that is interesting, yeah, to know. But why I'm asking all these things is that okay, but for example there are 10 varieties, But these are, so all the items in the shop are now divided into 10 items, and the items related to type 1 are hashed, means they're giving a single type code, right? Length
Right,
is
sir.
same. So that is somewhat like hash function, right? Fixed length is giving a lot of information about the that product is we are getting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So can I stop sharing
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
screen?
Please. Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
thank
So
you everyone
anyone?
for your kind
Very good.
words.
Yeah. So any other questions, or anyone is
Yeah.
ready to, anyone ready to give a talk in any other topic today?
Hello. Uh,
Ah,
I just wanted to just ask one small thing. So that one thing was it for error purpose of checking if there is an error, or that the fact that everything was uh,
which one? One you were told something. One you are saying.
so that yes, so that the um that the
Okay,
Means
you mean the binary equivalent for a UPC code, right?
yeah, that everything is that we check it, we can tell if there's an error because everything has to be that if you superimpose them, then everything be one or something that.
Okay. So what I told was you take a UPC code for a barcode, you divide it in two halves. You take a binary equivalent for the first half. So first half will be the left half and the right half. If you just add them, so 0 added to 1, 0, just component wise you add them because they will be equal in numbers. So you add it to 1. So the 0 plus 1 will be 1 and 1 plus 0 will be 1. So that what we were saying, nothing else.
Okay, is
Hmm. Actually, I will
sometimes
share the
that
slides. You will
also
be
useful, right? Sometimes
right,
that
sir.
also useful, right? Means why two parts will it? Even some error will be there in one part. We can get information from other end. Is it possible? No, it is not that much. Means we do not know which side it is error.
No,
Yeah. But yeah, so we cannot 100% we cannot correct it. But yeah, as EAN 13 and whatever possible errors can be detected there, that can be done even here.
that can be
Ah,
right, sir.
right. Yeah. Okay. Then. Yeah. So then I will. So if no one is ready, then we will go. I will going to tell something. So still we have sufficient time. So first I'll start with the Mac. Little bit introduction about the Macs. Then I will go to secret sharing. So even earlier I mentioned, but now with proper mathematically I can give it, so that they are very simple. Even if I do not, you do not start here, you can understand them. Okay. Um, so a little bit about Mac, not complete things I'm giving. So some around half an hour I discuss about Mac. Then later another half an hour I will discuss about the secret sharing part. So see, MAC Mac means message authentication code. Okay. So MAC Mac means message authentication code. Okay, it is actually it is called cryptographic checksum. Some people call it as cryptographic checksum. So earlier also, you know, checksum we are doing, right? In the EAN 13 also we do checksum, right? Check digit like that, checksum. Okay, and so it is actually main thing is that this is very important. It is called, it is actually keyed hash function. It is a hash function, but it is keyed also. There is a key associated to that. So it is not just hash function, it is a keyed hash function. So we hash functions. So try to again recall things. Hash function is a function which takes arbitrary length to fixed length. That much only. Do not confuse with hash functions with some other things. Okay, one-way function is different. Hash function is different, right? And cryptographic hash function is hash function but with extra properties. Like that, we need to revise these things. Okay, what is a cryptographic hash function? Somebody can revise. What is the extra properties that the cryptographic hash function? It is a hash function plus. What are the properties that cryptographic hash function need to have? We told 3 different conditions. You remember?
It is difficult to invert and.
So that is called one-wayness.
Then you given.
Yeah, you give a message and you give the hash value of that. And if I get now, it is very difficult for me to find another message with the same hash function value, right? That is collision, right? And there is another second collision, that is finding 2 different messages such that they have the same hash value. So these conditions has to satisfy to make it used for the cryptography side. Now keyed hash function is that we will use some key also. So for example, it is like hash. Generally we'll do for the message, but now we will do something like so key also will be known. So we'll take key also. So and then we will do hash to the entire thing. So that's why it is called that is MAC is simply that hash function only, but keyed hash function. Okay. And what is the message authentication generally do? It share the same almost same properties of digital signatures except one. What it share with the digital signatures. Some common properties are shared with some properties digital signature. One of them is the integrity. So integrity means message integrity, right? So what do you mean by that? Can you recall? Message integrity means what? Or data integrity? What is that?
It cannot be modified.
While going, message is transmitting. In the between, nobody can change it. If change it, they can figure out by using this authentication thing which will MAC will give. And what do you mean by authentication?
The
So,
sender won't be able to deny.
It will be come from source of from where it comes. It is very much clear here. Okay. So these are the 2 things. What is the difference between digital signature and main difference between digital signature versus MAC is? So in digital signature, we will use public key cryptography. Okay, PKC, public key cryptography. Okay. So whereas in MAC, we will use symmetric cryptography. Okay, that is the difference. So the keyed hash function, but the key is actually symmetric key. So this is already shared between the parties and then they will use it. So since it is symmetric key, so one of the thing which can be advantage with the digital signature that is not there here. Can somebody help us? What is that? Digital signature has some extra property because of the public key crypto system. It has some extra feature that MAC lacks. What is that?
Verification.
Verification here also will be there. Otherwise, how we need to verify authentication? We are giving some authentication, so that has to be verified. Verification will be there. It is almost like digital signature. Only thing is that here in digital signature, key is used public key, so there is a private key and secret key. but here the same secret key is used. So when you have symmetric crypto system, then there is a one thing we cannot have. So since both have same secret key, so what is the problem? So there are 4 things, right? Confidentiality, integrity, data integrity, then authentication, then there is one more, non-repudiation.
Oh,
Yeah, so actually we are now talking about confidentiality is already there. It is a crypto system. So we are not worrying about the confidentiality. Now we are talking about other aspects. So the thing which we'll miss in MAC is that non-repudiation. So non-repudiation, it cannot be guaranteed here. Okay. Suppose attacks are not there. If attacks are there, anything, we cannot say anything. Yeah, we are making a secure one. And so in that case, MAC is very useful for the both integrity as well as the authentication. So how it will generally, so this is the diagrams we are gave earlier. So we have Alice and Bob. Okay. So Bob will take the message. Okay. So there is a message X. And so now there is a MAC function. So there is a MAC function. So this MAC function takes for this, the input is X, message is given, and then it will give the some what we call value, its value, MAC value. So MAC value, people sometimes write M. Earlier you know we wrote S, right? So it takes X from here and it will give the MAC value. So it is called, you can think as it is a signature also if you want. Okay. Now this pair now, this both M comma X comma M, this message as well as the signature are MAC value. So that is now send it to Alice. Now Alice will get, since Alice has, she has both message M and that, sorry, this is X she has. Okay. So she has that X. Now she will also have the same key, right? So she will again use the MAC operation. Okay. So I wrote MAC. Yeah, here I wrote MAK. So sorry, that for that. So it is also MAC here, right? So she will compute, if she take the message and compute the MAC again. Okay. So X is given to this. Then she will get another thing, M dash. Now there is a verification here. If it is modified or something done, okay, so then they are not equal. So in the verification, we have M is equal to M dash or not. Okay, this is the question mark. So any questions till now? But so the function here is that this M is equal to some MAC, MAC. So there is a, so people write this is secret key. Secret key is already shared between the parties. So there is a K, secret key, and X here. Some people write K also inside, K comma X. It is 2 arguments are there. But once K is fixed between the people, only the message will change, continues. That's why we'll write like this. M is
So
equal
in the verification process, I think you have written X there.
oh,
X used to MAC. K thing. I think K will be there. Key.
no.
Okay.
This is okay. This is correct only. Message only we take, and I not written MAC K here. Just
Yeah,
I wrote.
okay.
So both authentication and integrity is achieved.
Yeah, the both those are achieved. Why non-repudiation is not achieved? So because secret key, na, so message now created by Alice itself, right? Yeah, so we discussed that. Again, I will not go into that. Yeah. So non-repudiation is not possible here. Okay. So I'll just say few properties, few properties of this message authentication codes. Okay, so properties. Yeah, so MAC generate a cryptographically secure authentication tag for a given message. Okay, so that is what we called cryptographic checksum. So these are the some of the things MAC will do, or properties. Okay, so a MAC generates a cryptographic cryptographically secure authentication tag. Secure authentication tag. Okay, so that is so tag for a given message. So that value m we are seeing, right? So second thing is that main thing is that the symmetric MACs. So but why we so we have digital signature and it is actually doing more things. Then why people has to go for MACs? Just some, can you think of? Can you give me at least one advantage of MACs? Why we have to do? Even digital signatures are doing much better. I mean, by better in the sense that it is doing integrity, authentication as well as non-repudiation. Then why still MAC?
So maybe that key size or something.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, actually, implementation, these are simple. Because now symmetric key will use block ciphers and other things, so they are very fast. Okay, so they will not take much time. Of course we are losing something, but that is one of the advantage. Okay, that's why still they are very much in use. Yeah,
And sir, one more advantage I can see is
no,
that
there are many advantages. I not told that there are no, this is one advantage I told. Yeah, now you can tell more advantages. You can go ahead.
so one more advantage is that suppose that one agreement is done between only two parties and that is very confidential, then in that case authentication is achieved by doing MAC.
So repeat one more time so that they will ask any questions.
I'm saying that suppose that think of a confidential agreement between two parties. So in that agreement, authentication or authentication is achieved by using MAC, because the only both two parties will possess the secret key and no other third party possesses key, so cannot verify from where it is originated and who signed it.
Yeah, is it okay to all of you? Any questions? See, yeah, so what I told is symmetric MAC is based on the secret symmetric keys. The signing and verifying parties must share the secret key. Is it okay? That is what the second point I mentioned. The third one is that arbitrary length. So as I told that, we are using hash functions, right? So generally, so MACs accept messages of arbitrary length. Yeah, this is the other one. The fourth one is related to fixed output length. Of course, you understand that. So Max generate a size of the authentication tags. So this is fixed. Okay, I'm not writing everything. Fixed authentication tags. Right. So fixed length. So they will give arbitrary message, and it will. So it will give that fixed length authentication tags. Okay. Other aspect is that yeah. So that is the property, right? So integrity. Okay. So they have integrity. So you know how it integrity is there. So that means that it provides a message integrity, and any manipulations of the message during the transit will be detected by the receiver. So do you want me to write? We already discussed. Message integrity means that any manipulation of the message. So how do you check that? How do you get it? Are you just think about message during the transit? Will be detected by the receiver. Right. Other one is that message authentication, right? That we told. So how integrity can be issued? Yes. So are you there? Hello, anyone else?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, how message integrity will be achieved?
Because the message is changed and that value which you got from the Mac will be different.
Yeah, see, hash functions, so you understand, na? Hash functions, a small change in the input, there is a large change will be there. Okay. So that's why, so message integrity will be there.
And the properties also of the hash function that.
Right. Yeah. So authentication means that the receiving, so receiving party, right? So the receiving party is assured. So receiving party is assured of the origin. So how it is? How origin will be known?
So because of only they possess that key which is there.
Very good. Key, because of the secret key. Very good. So the key, here key is playing a role in authentication, right? Very good. So because only these two people have that key, you know? Yeah, very good. And a non-repetition. So no non-repetition, in fact, no non-repetition. Okay. So this is not possible because of this one. So this is not a favorable property and unfavorable property, but this is one property we need to have. Okay, so generally, people use most of the people use Hmax. Hmax means that hash function. So how it is be done? So there are two ways actually. So I'm not giving much details here. So one is that the Mac function, this m is equal to mac k of x. Okay, so this is now it is actually hash function. Okay, so k, this double line means that it is concatenation. So we are adding at the end. Entire now message length is increased. For that we are doing the hash function. So if there is a small change in the key or small change in the message, everything will be, m value will be completely changed, right? So this is what we called secret prefix. So this method is called secret prefix. Okay, another way to also do is that some people will do is that another way. So mac k of x, which is equal to h of x first and concatenation of k later. Okay, so this is what we called secret suffix mac. Okay, these are the main items related to this one. Okay, so yeah, so to need more details and more applications, so one has to go read much more depth. Okay, so I will go to the other concept. So I'll Max will discuss some other time still if time permits. Is it okay? Mac is clear? Because we discussed digital signatures in depth, so it is a hash function actually, hashing. It's a keyed hash, right? There are many varieties of Macs, so that's why if you go one after the another, so much time it will take. But I'm just giving you the overall picture, what is going on. That is just I want to say that much today. Yeah. Can I proceed?
So what do you mean by key? So like, how is the hash intertwined with the key, the hash?
Yes. So it is now entire thing is now full message, right? It is concatenated. See, you are a hash take arbitrary value, right? So now x is now that k. So now we don't know anything how it is intervened or what happened. So but both of them has the same hash function they will use, and they will use the same key.
I was just asking that the hash function and the key, like how is it related?
No, these two are different, right? If you suffix or if you put the prefix, it will be different, right?
Yeah.
Now that so one side you do by prefix, other side you by suffix, then you'll get a different answer. So both need to be have the same that mechanism also. Both sender and
Actually, hash function doesn't have any concept of key.
Yeah.
And similar, if you want to devise something that works like a hash function but which requires key also, so that design is Mac, because it requires secret key together with the message, and it does the same thing almost as the hash.
Only
also
advantage that key is there extra.
Yeah.
Key is helping for the authentication and other purposes that you
So
already know.
sometime Mac is also called keyed hash function.
Yes.
So it is same as hash function. Only extra thing is that key is added so that it has some advantages, and those advantages are people are using. Okay, so if you go to those examples and all, it will be much interesting where it is used and all, right? So some our protocols TLS or something in computer science, they will all use the Macs only. Okay, so now I'll go to that secret. So this mechanism. First, let me define this. I will explain you much better way properly, right? Okay, so first I will define what is a threshold scheme. Okay. You know all this content, okay? It is not new to you and very, very easy to understand. But I'm just putting in the, I told orally earlier, but now I'm putting things in a more mathematically, how it is actually done. Actual definitions and all I'm giving, nothing more, nothing less. Okay. The entire content I'm taking from your standard textbook by Trapp and Washington. Okay. So let the pair T comma W be positive integers, means pair of positive integers. Okay, we better okay, be pair of positive integers, or you can simply say that T comma W are positive integers. Okay, then where generally we'll say T is less than or equal to W. So I wrote earlier n comma k, okay, but here in the textbook they got t comma w. Since you may read this book, that's why I'm giving you this approach. So a t comma w threshold, t comma w threshold scheme is a method of sharing, is a method of sharing a message m. So I have message m, I have to see among set of w participants. So somebody can complete before I write, such that you know that secret sharing, such that
T messages.
If any T of them come.
any subset of T participants. Very good, thanks. T participants can construct the message M, right? And but no subset of smaller size can reconstruct M. Okay, so this is what it is given. Okay. Yeah, so first I will start with the polynomial method which I told you earlier. Okay, so polynomial threshold scheme. Very simple. You understood already, but just I am writing things. Okay. Yeah. So how do you start with? So choose a big prime. Choose a prime. So some prime p. Okay. So some sort of big prime. Okay. So all computations will be carried out in modulo p. Right. So now you take a message m. So we have a message m, and so it is as a number. This is as a number modulo p. Now what is at my goal? I want to create a t comma w threshold scheme. Okay, that means I will give this message to w people, not as it is. So some shares only I will give, and they do not know nothing about m. Okay, so that is the beauty of this thing. And but any t of them will come, they will get it. Any less than t of them, they will get nothing about this. So this is very beautiful concept. Okay, so let us see how it can be done. So method. Okay, yeah, so first we will take select e minus 1 integers modulo p. So those are also, let us say, randomly we choose t minus 1 integers modulo p. Somebody can guess that why you are taking in the polynomial method. You if you understand, I told orally. So let us call them as S1, S2, and so on, St minus 1. I choose randomly t minus 1 integers. Yeah, so somebody can guess that what is that I'm going to do in the polynomial method. If you not tell, then yes, I explained this earlier. So these are what actually The polynomial method. What are these?
The coefficients.
Very good, coefficient. Thank you. Okay, you saved my life. Okay, that means that some of you are following, but then many of them are not telling. That means that it is better I will explaining today. Okay, so you construct a polynomial s1x plus m is the secret. Okay, our message. So s1x plus s2x square and so on plus st minus 1 x power t minus 1. So this is a polynomial of degree t minus 1 modulo p. Okay. So any questions till now? Okay. So this is entire thing is done by some person called Taylor. There is a one participant is called Taylor. So Taylor has the message m and he will take randomly t minus 1 numbers. So to construct, he in his mind he already know he's constructing t comma w threshold scheme. So he will take t minus 1 randomly numbers and he construct the polynomial. But he will not stop there. What he will do next step? So next step he will take x1, x2, x w, y w. So we have to give to w people, w participants, w distinct numbers. Numbers modulo p. Any questions here? So this p is very large, so I can get w distinct numbers. Is it okay? So if you want to have any problem, then you can also choose 1, 2, 3 up to make it for your program or something. So randomly choose or distinct, or you can simply go for 1, 2 w, right? Okay, is it okay? Okay, good. What next? Can somebody guess? So let us, we'll also fix 1, 2, 3 w so that it will be beneficial to us. Yeah, though this is x1, this is x2 and so on w. What is next? What are the shares now? What happened? Please come up. What are, yeah, yes, please. Yeah. So T people has to come to get the secret M, right? So, but how do we, but any less than will come does not give. I need to give now shares to the W people. How I can give? What are the shares? Okay, I will just.
S1, S2 that she was saying.
No, they are not, we will not give S1
No.
coefficients, we will not give. Yeah. We will not give coefficients, we will give only the points. Means we will evaluate.
x1 comma sx.
S of x1, very good. Okay, yeah, this is given to the W participant 1. Okay, now x2 comma S of x2 to the participant 2, like that xw comma S of xw. Okay, so participant pw. So otherwise what we are saying is that this is if you want comfortable with 1, then you can simply take 1, put in the polynomial. Earlier we have S of x, sorry, this is capital S, no? Sorry for that. So S of 1, right? 2, S of 2, like that. Last one, can somebody help me?
T minus 1 S of T minus 1.
No, what is happening?
W s of w.
W, S of W. I have to give to the W people. W distinct numbers I took. I just substituting in the polynomial. Okay. One I took, I substituted in the polynomial, S of 1 came. So this I give to the first participant. 2, and I substituted in the polynomial, I give. So the dealer is now giving to these people. Okay. Now what is the first participant has now with him or her? Only this 1 comma S1 only participant has, nothing. Okay. So second participant has 2 comma S2, like that. Okay. Now suppose that, okay, so can you somebody tell me, so this I'm calling as y1, y2 and so on yk, right? Okay, here also you can say y1, y2, yk, yw, sorry, yw, right? Okay, so somebody can tell me what is yk value? Hmm? What is yk? Substitute xk. Hmm? Do not 1, 2, 3 and so on. General setup हम करेंगे. Can you tell me what is yk? What is happening? What is the problem you are facing? Please let me know.
M plus S1 xk plus xk square.
Okay, m plus, but why only you? I'm not understanding this simple thing. Why you need to tell? Okay, what is S1 into
xk.
xk? Right, good. S2 into
Xk square.
xk square and so on, plus last one
S t minus sk raised to t minus.
yeah, right. Okay, now so I have, so x1 xk substituted in the polynomial, I'll get yk. Nothing is there, right? Yeah, good. Okay, so next what is that we need to prove? Somebody help me. What is that we need to prove now? If t people come together, t participants come together, they can get, yeah, what they can get? This is m, right? How they can do it? How they can do it? So what is that participant 1 has? Y1, comma x1. So, and right.
So we will like basically from x1 and y1 we will get t equations.
Yeah,
with-
t equations will get, right? So, but so they do not know what is a polynomial. Are you following?
They will find the polynomial
Yeah,
and
so see,
substitute zero.
yeah, see, actually they are not aware of what are the coefficients. So they will simply say that they simply say that S0, S1, some polynomial is there. Okay, I'm using the same S1. So I hope you understand my intentions. Okay, so they take some polynomial S of x equal to S0 plus S1x. Please do not assume that this is same S1 as earlier. Okay, of course. So my goal is that this S1 equal to that S1, but these people do not know. Okay, they will take some polynomial. They want to find S1, S2, Sk, St minus 1. Are you okay, Aditi? At least for you. Rohan?
yeah, sir.
Yeah. So these are not known. Okay, this is, please do not. So if you want, I can change the other variables. But this is S1, S2, Sk, not original one. That we need to figure out. Now these are variables. Okay. But polynomial they know. So they know that it is a TW scheme. Participants also know it is TW scheme. So they know that if T of them will come, they know that. So then what they will do now? What the participant will do now? You substitute here, right? X1. So that is equal to Y1. So Y1 is equal to what now? S0 plus S1 X1 plus S2 X1 square and so on, plus I'm a little confused that whether you are not following or I am telling so many trivial things. This is the where I am confused. Okay, anyhow. Okay, now participant 2 will come, right? And he will give the value, right? What is it he has? Y2 x2. So then they will substitute in this polynomial, right? X2. So x2 and so on, st minus 1, x2 t minus 1. So like that, how many t? So this is yt. So s0 plus s1 xt and so on plus st minus 1 xt power t minus 1. Right, good. Now can somebody, can you convert it into a matrix form? Is it possible to convert into matrix form? 1. Yes, tell me. What are the variable here? What is you do not know? What you know, what you do not know? Hmm?
SIs we don't know.
SIs we don't know. We know YIs and XIs, right? So that's why we need to write here x1 square, okay, up to, sorry, you are not cooperating.
X1 raised to t minus.
X1 raised power t minus 1. Thanks. X1 power t minus 1. What is second row? 1 x2 square up to x2 power t minus 1. Like that. What is the last row? 1 xt square up to xt power t minus 1. So what is that I have to multiply here? And equal to what is that I have to write here?
S0, S1 to
S0, S1 up to S
is
t minus
Y1, Y2 to
yeah, y1, y2 up to yt. Very good. Right? Good. Now, what we can say about this matrix? Right? This matrix is called, it has a name. Okay. Somebody know? I wrote V.
Van der Waals.
Yeah, it is called Van der Waals matrix. So in your 10+2 sometimes, so you know that it's determinant. You remember that? So for example, my only 2 by 2, if I take, it is 1x2, right? What is its determinant? 2 by 2 का determinant क्या होगा?
X2 minus X1.
So is it 0 or non-zero?
Non-zero.
Non-zero. Why it is non-zero? Why it is non-zero?
X1 is not equal to X2.
No? Please repeat.
X1 is not equal to X2.
X1 is not equal to x2 because we took x1, x2, xk, there are xw, they are all distinct. X1, x2, xw, they are distinct numbers modulo p. Okay. In particular, we took 1, 2, 3 up to w if you want. Right? Okay. So now what is the determinant of V? Van der Waals matrix ka? You know, in general, you can, if you want, you can evaluate 1, 1, 1, x1, x2, sorry, x1, x1 square, x2, x2 square, x3, x3 square. Now, can you figure out somebody what is the determinant of this? You know how to find? You subtract, right? First, how do you do the row operations? Hai? Please help me here. Okay, this is 0.
Sir, I can guess that it is X1 minus X2, X2 into
x2 minus
X3.
x1. So it is x2 minus, yeah, so we'll subtract like that, right? Yeah,
Right.
so finally you are correct. So you are going to get x2 minus x1 into x2 minus x3 minus x2 into x3 minus x1, like that it will come, correct? Okay, yeah, good. So basically it is actually product. So this is, I am writing as a product, this is product 1 less than or equal to j less than k less than or equal to t, okay, xk minus x, somebody, this is j, xj, okay. So for example, in 3 by 3 case, you will get x2 minus x1 into x3 minus x2 into x3 minus x1. Okay, suffix, this one is larger than that. Okay, that can be checked. So this is very famous problem, the 10+2. If they are distinct. If they are repeated, what happens? What is the determinant? If two of them are repeated, then what happens?
0 it will be.
0, because
Rows
same,
same.
two rows are same. Good. Okay. So now what is that we achieved? What is that we proved here? If they're all distinct, what is and what happens? Determinant is non-zero. Okay. 0 non-zero depends upon, determinant is 0 non-zero depends upon, they are distinct. But in this method we are taking, they are anyhow distinct. Then somebody can help me that what is that happening now? So if it is this
Now,
now what about this matrix now? Non-singular.
Yes.
Then what we can do then?
Inverse. We
We can do the inverse. Okay, so this is equal to S equal to, now I wrote V, this as Vs equal to Y. So I want to find S. Is it possible to find S? Yes, right? V inverse into Y. Yeah, it has a unique solution, right? Invertible,
Yes.
and it has a unique solution that I can find out. Okay, once I get that one, so I get the coefficients, right? Once I get the coefficients, then how do you get S0? Right?
first coefficient.
But how do you get that? I got the
Zero.
polynomial. Yeah, yes.
0 of the polynomial.
0. So you substitute 0, evaluate at 0. Constant term comes when you substitute 0. Right? That way it can be done. So there are various ways actually. So this is Van der Monde matrix. If you feel difficulty, then in the linear methods, if you done in numerical analysis course, if you done numerical analysis course, if you done, then there is a method called Lagrange's method. So I'll tell you that approach now. So in the Lagrange's method, what you people do? So for each k, so we define for k equal to 1 to w. Okay. So we define LKW, LK of x. Sorry. Yeah, LK of x, how we define? Can somebody help me? Product x minus xi by xk minus xi, right? And here I is from 1 to, somebody help me, I is equal to 1 to, it is a polynomial of degree t minus 1, right? You know Lagrange's method? You want me to explain entire Lagrange's method? You done it sometimes? Yeah.
Actually, sir, like, sir, isn't M also part of the matrix? Like,
M is not part of the matrix, right?
is
I don't know. I don't know S not.
Yeah. Yes.
So here I am, these things I have found the unique polynomial, right?
Yes. Actually, isn't S not only M?
It's not only M, 100%, exactly. It's not only M. Yeah, you are correct. What you said that, okay, if I found that what is the S naught, that is the answer. 100%.
Yes. So then why we have to substitute 0 inside?
Okay. I'm telling that once you get the polynomial S naught, how do you get S naught? Already you got S naught, okay, that's fine. That is S naught equal to M. Yeah, no need to actually. No need to substitute, just I asked that. So,
yes.
so you just wrote polynomial, then the actual secret is S naught. Yes, 100%. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for actually. That is better. Otherwise, it is not complete actually. Those questions are useful. Yeah. Good. Okay, good. So, can you tell me now I equal to 1 to कहाँ तक जाना है? Then you understand actually the Lagrange's method also. My original final goal is to construct a polynomial. See, you have these points x1, y1, x2, y2, right? And so on, xw, yw, but I will only take few. I want to construct a polynomial of, I need only t. I only need t to construct the polynomial. I do not go to other side. Okay. Right? I hope you understand that. Yeah.
Yes. I think x minus x
No. My point is that, so if I give t points, x1, y1, x2, y2, points are whatever you can call shares. So then xt, yt. So what is the polynomial degree you get?
T minus.
T minus 1. So, okay. What is the Lagrange method? How it will do? You remember that?
Yes, it's, I think x, like, so to get the coefficients, we
Yeah. We
should.
will take x minus, for example, in order to construct a degree 2 polynomial, right? I am explaining with one. So you'll start with x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, right? x3, y3. Okay. So maybe that may be easy for you. Now I want to construct a polynomial of degree 3, is degree 2, right? Satisfying passing through these 3 points, right? So then, so with that I can construct the polynomial, then I'll extrapolate or interpolate later, baad mein, right? You are sending a satellite from Sriharikota, okay, and you will try to guess that at this time it is in this position, at this time it is in this position. So we have the x values, y values, okay. So by using that, we will try to construct some polynomial, right? A much more better method they will take, not polynomials. So spline methods and other thing, but okay. So then between point, okay. So suddenly it missed. So you can guess middle values also, or afterwards where it can be. That is called extrapolation. So only with data, how can interpolate, extrapolate, right? That is the idea of the interpolation techniques. So Lagrange gave very nice approach. So what he will do, he will construct first L1 of x. How L1 of x, can somebody help me?
X minus x2 into x minus x3
X minus x2 into x minus x3 by
x1 minus.
x1 minus x2 into x1 minus x3. Very good. So what is the degree of this polynomial? You see that? L ka?
2.
Yeah. So now can you guess there? Here, that is what question I asked. Stop here. I equal to 1 to where? Up to what extent I had to go? I have t points.
T minus 1.
Yeah. So if you take t plus 1 points, then like that. Okay. So yeah, you are correct. So it is t minus 1, depending upon the polynomial. Okay. So t minus 1 looks odd, then take t plus 1 points and up to go to t. Okay, fine. So what is the advantage of this this way? What is actually L1 of what is L1 of x1? Here you can see easily.
So 1,
It is 1. What is L1 of x2 or x3?
0.
0, right? That is advantage. So if you substitute other values, so actually, so here what is LK of YK?
1.
Okay, I'll say, okay, little modify karta hu. So yeah, it's correct. Your 1 is correct. So LK of YJ have 2 values, right? Which is equal to 1 if J is equal to K, 0 otherwise, right? So this is the thing. So I am sorry, I am writing a little clumsy here. Yeah, okay. So that is the way you construct, right? Good. Now in the Lagrange interpolation method, so how do you construct the polynomial now? The original polynomial, let us say degree. Yeah, so it is summation k is equal to 1 to t, right? Yk Lk of x, right? Okay, and what is p of xj? Exactly equal to yj, correct na? Remaining place it is 0. It is like a Chinese remainder theorem. You remember I mentioned at that time? Some of you maybe remember. Okay, for example, p of x1. If I substitute only first value pe 1 hoga, baki pe 0 hoga, right? It is like a Chinese remainder theorem also we done like that. Is Shruti is here? Hello? Okay. Good. Okay. So now, how do I get the secret m now, right? So I can get now a p of x equal to s of x, right? By using this original, how do I get m now, right? To get m, I have to substitute. So we can see that I have to substitute x equal to 0. So that is exactly that summation k is equal to 1 to t yk. So pi j is equal to 1 to t. Oh, so that is the thing. I think I made a mistake here. Not, it is t only, right? Hai na? Are you okay? Because I'm not taking one term, right? Hello, are you there?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, sorry for that mistake. Now I realized. Okay, so j is equal to j is equal to 1 to t. That is earlier I made a mistake actually. That is not correct. Yeah. So and j not equal to k. So we have minus xj. We are substituting x place me. I am putting 0, right? Xk minus xj. Right? You will compute all these things. I will get m. So it's another way by Lagrange's method. If you do not want to use van der Waals matrix, but don't worry much. You can use Norton methods also. Many ways to can interpolation. Whatever the way you can do, you can do it. Right? So is it okay, or I have to give some example also with the t value 2, 3 like that message value. I think you can compute, right? This is fine, right?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, and you can look at the textbook if you want. So other method is that I told you, na. So just give me a few minutes, so then I will complete that approach. So second approach is the geometric way. Geometric approach. So in the geometric approach, how it will go? So it is better I will explain with some 3 comma w scheme. Okay, that means t equal to 3. If 3 people come, they can get it. So just I will give some small hints here. So now, so x naught is a secret. Okay, so x naught is a secret. So now we choose randomly 2 more values. Okay, I'm not writing everything. So this is your secret. So randomly choose 2 values, x naught and z naught. Now you have a point q equal to x naught comma y naught comma z naught. It is a point in R3. Okay, then what is that you do? So now choose a and b. Choose a comma b. So randomly. Of course, here also I forget to tell that always we'll do modulo p some prime, so that computations becomes easy. Yeah, we can program, everything can be done. So now the c is equal to z naught minus ax naught minus py naught modulo p. Okay, I choose 2 numbers randomly modulo p. So then I computed it. I already know x naught, y naught, z naught. So now what about this polynomial? Can somebody help me? What do you can say about this polynomial now? Or this equation? Hello? Hello? Yeah, so I think you are there, people are there. So what is this equation generally represents? Ax plus by plus ez plus d equal to 0.
So plane.
Plane.
No, be careful. Plane equation provided if all the coefficients are non-zero. Sorry, at least one coefficient is non-zero. See, for example, a equal to 0, b equal to 0, and z coefficient also 0, then it is entire R3. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, but Z quotient is 1. Yeah, at least one quotient is 1. So no need to worry. This is a plane equation, correct? So this is a plane equation, right? And can you say more than that? It is a plane, and you can say more. Because the way I constructed, see, I constructed this approach. I took A and B randomly.
Passing through x naught, y naught.
Passing through x naught, y naught, z naught, this point also. Okay, so this is the share one. Okay, so I took so let us say a1 b1 if you want a1 b1, then I will give so finally, okay, share one is, so instead of a b I'll call a1 b1. Okay, so a1 so a1x plus b1y minus z is congruent to, can somebody help me? Minus ci, right, mod p, c1 actually, c1. Okay, in particular, what are the shares? Share I, okay, better tell share I. Share I is aix plus biy minus z is congruent to minus ci. Okay, so modulo p. Okay, how many values? 1 less than or equal to I less than or equal to W, whatever, how many you want. But if you take first 3 people come, how do you get the information? Suppose first 3 people came. Any 3 can come, right? But for convenience, I will tell only first 3 people. Then what happens? What is that they have to figure out? So their intersection. So there are 3 planes, right? Where they intersect?
Point.
That point.
Z.
So that point, now you need to solve the equations and find the solution. So so how do you write them, right? A1, B1. What is the coefficient of Z? You are not telling actually. I don't know. This is -1. A3, B3 -1, right? It is now this is my x naught, y naught, z naught. Why I am writing x naught, y naught, z naught? Okay, if you do not like, then simply write x, y, z. You are solving. Okay, I know, I don't know. There is a common point. So you choose this in such a way that this has a solution now, right? These planes are passing through that single point. So here, what is that I have to write? Minus C1, minus C2, minus C3 modulo P. So if I solve it, I'll get it. Okay. So example, you can check it. One example, you can take it. Very, very straightforward, simple. Yeah. So can I stop now? Any questions?
It means, so like,
Yeah.
why do we mention W and W? Like, we should just say that it is greater than.
3.
Yes.
Yeah. So just that W is anything. Yeah. So number of participants should be 3 or more.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.